What's up, game changers? Welcome, my friends, to the end game. My name is Juniper Bloom Mystique. I am an ascension master, master healer, and divine guide. I'm trying to make it to where you can see my eyes, but my glasses are playing tricks. There I be. I'm going to talk today about the number 666 and why it's considered a mark of the beast, when in truth, it's also an angel number. How could that be? And why on earth would that be the number that they are using, right? First of all, who I am is a little different, okay? On this channel in which you find this video on, you're going to find a lot of very strange things. I have spent since 2019 doing the Return of Christ work. If you aren't aware by now, the ascension truly is the return of Christ. This came through into me. I can prove it all. It was very painful and beautiful and mind-blowing, from clearing Mount Shasta to activating pyramids to freeing Jesus' soul because he was poisoned. He didn't die on a cross. But why would they depict that, right? To activating pyramids all over the globe. Mount Shasta was not of light at all. That's actually the false veil. To clearing the Nile, and so much more. All of it came consecutively. Even the anointing of the blood of Christ was included in that. The undoing of the Holy Grail is all on this channel. Okay, it came through me over processes, workshops where I would just use the energy in me, use Christ light. We changed the crystalline grid. It's quite powerful. It's quite palpable. It's quite beautiful. And it is something you might really want to check out. So I encourage you to like and subscribe and stick around. And don't let your mind fool you. Which brings me into the number 666. So, if the number 666 is truly an angelic number, well, which is it, first of all? Is it the mark of the beast, or is it a number of the angels? I suppose that depends on which side you're on, right? But why do they call it the mark of the beast? Why do they call that the mark of the beast? The first portal that I took us through, because Revelations 21:12, 21, all of Revelations is what I brought about. And the first portal is actually the portal of the mind. That deals with Mount Shasta, because I cleared all these souls out and I returned the all-seeing eye back to the portal of the gods. So there's a little piece right there. And I know that's hard to understand, but it's very real, and it's what I have spent the last 4 years doing. Dun, dun, dun. I will also tell you, it began with a fallen angel, and I burned him under Mount Shasta, part 2. Technically, I should say his doings is why he is no more. So there was a fallen angel, right? So everything they use is the power of God. Okay, I will tell you, everything falls under the umbrella of the Creator. It's just some individuals, some beings, species, really aren't of the light, are they? The fallen angel removed himself from the light, and others followed him. And so they would use these things for their power and for their gain. Like the number 13, for instance. If you watch on my channel, I dried up the Nile, and after I turned it blood red, and I called my power from that lifetime. You can watch that to find out what that means. It was a shocker to me. That was actually this last year. In that, we talk about, wow, where was I going with that? I don't remember. I had a brain fart, y'all. Oh my gosh, I totally had a brain fart. Anywho, I will skip back around and hopefully come back to it. Okay. What you're going to realize here is that things that you once thought are not the truth at all. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about, is the number 13. See, there we go. My brain just skipped a beat. I'm right back where I needed to, because it's in my head. It's real. So in the Nile, I realized that there was not 12 gates. There's 13. Because after I turned the Nile blood red, and I didn't know I was doing it, you guys, the angels in meditation, we were getting gifts. It was a Patreon healing, I think. And then the next thing I knew, they took me from the group and put my feet in water. And then I started calling my power back from that lifetime. You might be familiar with that. If not, I encourage you to watch it. And then once I called my power back, replaced the core crystal in the earth from darkness to light, crushed the dark one and shoved it all across the collective soul for a karmic play out. Then I opened up the final portal. The final portal into the gates of heaven is number 13. So 13 is all about heaven. That's the 13th gate. There's not 12, there's 13. So Revelations 21:12 speaks of 12 gates. There's 13. And each gate you go through a trial and tribulation. That's what Revelations talks about, and that's what I brought about, okay? So when I cleared the Nile, I realized that there's 13 gates, not 12. And that's when I got this huge download of why not everybody would ascend and what I did and more of who I was and stuff, because even I didn't fully understand it all, okay? So brings us to 666, right? The thing about 666 is pretty interesting. The reason it's considered the mark of the beast is because when I undid the darkness of the moon and all that kind of stuff, I actually broke one of their satellites, and I said the next time they try to listen in, their ears will bleed. So if you haven't realized by now, much of the Truman Show was telling you what they were doing, because that's what Spirit showed me. They were listening to you. They would control you. And how do they have the most power? Is through the mind. So you are a powerful creator. You are a being of God. So anywhere they can get in your head and make you think otherwise, they will do so, because it's a battle for your soul. So they get in your head. Ego is of the mind. These are all false matrix realities, okay? These are what they have spent multiple false moons integrating into all of you. They had this ability to get in your head and to make you think things that weren't real. The triangle with the eye was over Mount Shasta, which is where Archangel Samael was underneath in the tunnels, and all these souls were trapped because the way they kept the power here was through bloodshed. The real portal of the gods is where the triangle of the eye was returned to, and that's at Fiji, and I know that's a lot to understand. That was the false veil. So that false veil was the inability to be able to see God anymore. We would come here and we would forget who we were and hopefully find our way home to God or to love. But in order to do that, we'd have to gain control of the mind, because that is where they get you. Dun, dun, dun! But it's true. Have you ever gone to do something beautiful and then all of a sudden you get bombarded with all these negative thoughts? Yeah, that is the mark of the beast, my friends, because 666 truly talks about the mind. One of the main meanings of 666, my friends, because there's multiple, depending upon what it means for you and what you need in that moment. But the main function is distractions from the bigger picture. Okay? And that's what all these Nephilim talk about and these alien things and all of that. And I did a video on that recently. It's all about distractions, keeping you from the reality, keeping you from truth, keeping you from God, from your power. Because God is in here. You are a fragmented piece of God. Okay, you're a creator. So if I am being bombarded with all these negative thoughts and negative things, they're going to make me think something that's not real if I let them. Then I create karma from my actions that remove me from God. That's how you remove yourself from God, okay? By letting this false depiction that is outside of love, because it's always negative. It's always based in fear and manipulation and ego and negative things that are outside of love. Unconditional love, because love is not conditional. God is not conditional. So God loves all. God is all forgiving. So repenting doesn't work either. That's false. That will get you nowhere except for a low ego, a low self-esteem, not ego, a low self-esteem, low mentality, right? Like, I'm not worthy. I need to beg for forgiveness. Sweetheart, forgive yourself, okay? God already loves you, all right? So this is part of their tricks of the trade. Just like 666. It's a trick of the trade, okay? They take the power, like Taylor Swift. Her lucky number is 13, and there's something not right there at all, okay? They use God's power against you. They convince you that these things aren't real, and then they distract you from the bigger picture, distract you constantly from the bigger picture. They've done it through fear and V's and medications and sicknesses, because in the new earth, in the old earth, back in Atlantis, things like that, we didn't get sick. Higher vibrational beings don't get sick at all. Okay, our foods, the earth, She matches our DNA. She knows our DNA. I know that in doing all the work that I did. I changed her blueprint, and those that went through the path with me, that made it through all the gates with me already, they know her blueprint, like each other's blueprint read each other, right? So how do I explain that? The earth would read their blueprint, their DNA, because she makes our food. She provides everything we need. And they don't teach you that all the way. They do, but they don't, right? So 666 talks about refocusing. Maybe you're out of balance. Why does it talk about balance? Because if you're in balance in your life from the heart space, you can see clearly. You can see these tricks, these manipulations that they use against you, and you can see what is a lie, a lie, a lie. Hence, Jesus died on a cross. He did not die on a cross, and he did not die for your sins. That takes away your free will, okay? So 666, the mark of the beast, talks about how they take away from you, how they manipulate you. That is the power that they have. The only power they have is getting in your head, creating this false scenario, this false reality, this false narrative. And if you play into it and you don't take your power back of the mind, then you create karma through choices based off that false narrative. So this has happened through lifetimes. So right now, in order to make it through the ascension, you are playing out every lifetime's karma, not just this one, because what I did is the great reset. I took us all the way back to the beginning of time. So every past life you've ever had will no longer matter. But in every past life being born here, because of what was happening here, we all had the shadow in our head. Okay? That's the first portal, the portal of the mind. And it carries through every portal. So once you begin to master your mind and see that things aren't what they seem to be, the matrix, all the false reality they created and dubbed you with, they duped you, right? It's a false reality they created called the matrix, and they did it in our mind. So if they keep us in our head, they keep us out of our body and in a low vibration, that is the false reality. Once you start to escape that, you can begin to see clearly. You can begin to understand that when good things start to happen, they get in your head and they try to convince you otherwise. Prime example. When I freed Jesus' soul the first round, a few years ago now, I was in Cripple Creek. A friend of mine were out there, and I was there to do, it was for my birthday, and I was going to do a Patreon healing because I had my group for my Patreons. And so I was like, I got to do my workshop before we leave, you know. But we were like running around, and he was like, wouldn't it be cool if we saw ghosts? I'm like, yeah, that would be pretty cool. It turns out I did see this really freaky entity, and I bolted it up like 3 flights of stairs. And then later that night, I had all this darkness. It was like all these negative thoughts just all of a sudden bombarded me. And I was already awakened. I was already on this path. I was already doing certain things for the path, like clearing Mount Shasta and stuff. But I didn't know what was coming this weekend. I just know I was nudged to go. And I was nudged to do my Patreon there. So I didn't know what was coming. But all of a sudden, I had these horrible thoughts that nobody cared. Nobody was going to watch my videos. What I was doing was a false thing. Like so many negative thoughts that would usually cause somebody to go, ooh, I don't want to do that, right? That's not fun. And I was like, that's not right. I was like, those were not my thoughts 2 seconds ago. I was in a good space. I was getting ready to take a yummy bath, right? In Cripple Creek, having a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden, these negative thoughts came in. And I knew because of that, it wasn't mine. And I immediately shut it down. I was like, those are not my thoughts. And with that, I felt the energy go whoop and lift out of my head. And then the next day, we did the Patreon healing. And that is when I set Jesus' soul free and processed his death. And I didn't see it coming. It was so unexpected, my friends. Like I was just doing the Patreon thing. They tell me what to do. I thought it was just a healing for us. Then all of a sudden I saw Jesus in his lifetime and how he looked and what he was going through. And he was standing across from John the Apostle and he was starving. He was so hungry and so like wind and sand and sunburnt. And John the Apostle killed him. He poisoned him with bread and wine. And Jesus knew it. He hesitated. He knew something was wrong. He felt it, but he was so hungry. And he was supposed to be able to trust John the Apostle. But what you don't realize is John the Apostle was listening to the fallen angel and worshiping the angels instead of God. Now, all of that is given to you as a fact, but then they manipulate it and distort it. Okay? So this is how it works. They get in your head. 666, mark of the beast. 666 is all about positive thoughts. On my journey, I remember many times Spirit would use 6 to tell me, watch your thoughts. Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to the negativity that comes in that you allow to become part of your narrative. Because that, my friends, is how they trap you. That is how they would get you guys to create karma time and time and time again, or to do things, to have beings that were in power, had a purpose, to do the opposite of that, with fear, with manipulation, and even bloodshed. Okay? So, distractions from the bigger picture. That's what all of it is about. It's here to distract you from God. It's to distract you from love, because God is unconditional love. And the only way to make it into the new earth is to heal all of that, get your power back, remove all the shadow and karma, undo your karma, okay? It's already playing out. So just make sure that you are aware of this and choosing love over all of your tough lessons, okay? Because all of this 666, the way the mark of the beast works is through your head, through your mind. They will convince you of all kinds of things. So angels, your guides, will use 666 to talk to you. But then they convince you that that's a negative number. What that means is that's how they get to you, okay? According to the reason we use 666 is the power of the mind. Stay positive thoughts, right? Don't be distracted. Focus on the bigger picture. It talks about obsession and getting everything right, fixation on details, and there's like many meanings of it. It also talks for manifesting, because manifesting is positive. If your emotions aren't high, your vibrations aren't high, you can't manifest. So things will get in your head and convince you otherwise. It will change your course because you play into the negative scenario, or you stay in the heart. That's why meditating is so important, my friends. That's why meditating is so important. And all enlightened beings do it because they took their power back from the mind. Our body is where all the information is. And when 666 arises, it's usually, generally speaking, Spirit telling you, pay attention to the thoughts. Pay attention to what is going on, because something is distracting you. Something is taking you off of what is true, the bigger picture of what's really happening here. This is why 666 is a mark of the beast, because they manipulate you through your mind. They take away your free will. God cannot do that. Anywhere God is, He gives you free will. So when they tell you Jesus died for your sins, that takes away your free will. You can definitely fall away from God by allowing that mind space to muck you up, right? Because that's where they get in, is in the head. So, my friends, anytime you see the number 666, pay attention to what you're doing, what you're thinking. Take your power back in from your head, right? Drop into your body. When you have all these negative scenarios coming out, judgments, ego, it's all in the mind. You are not fully in your body. That means you've got a shadow component in here somewhere blocking you from entry, and you stay mostly in your head. That's where they have gotten you before, okay? So one of the main portals is the power of the mind. Mark of the beast, 666. Yet it's an angel number, my friends. They steal your soul through your head. And that's what they did to my original twin flame, because he did die. So they would get in his head and convince him all these negative things about God, about love, about me. And in the end, he almost killed me on the ascension. He almost blocked the ascension, and he did have to perish. He had a choice, but he never got his power back from the head, from his mind, and got away from those dark people and followed what God said, because God is in here. The beast controls here in the head, not your third eye. They've blocked you from your third eye. If you really watch my whole channel, I even activate your eye of Horus and eye of Ra for that reason, because that's who I am, and that's who my DM is. That is God. Okay? Masculine and feminine, and that's what they separated. That's why your cross was broken, and that's why they hung Jesus on it, because they separated him from his twin soul, Mary Magdalene. God is twin souls. Adam and Eve, twin souls. Jesus and Mary Magdalene, twin souls, and Sekhmet and Horus. Making sense now? Light bulb, I hope. Now take your power back for the mind. Watch what you use numbers for. They are all of God, and only those use them to manipulate. They take God's power and God's light. That's what they do. They have nothing otherwise. Okay? So 666 is an angel number. It's not a number of the darkness. But they use it because what that means is they are in your head. They're literally telling you what they are doing. That's what they do. They tell you, ha, 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 look what I'm doing, but I'm putting it out there with a little bit of truth and the rest manipulation so that I can keep bending you over and taking your soul. Okay? So that is why they call 666 the mark of the beast. The number itself is not darkness. Please don't ever put darkness to those things because that's not true. What that means is they get in your head and they convince you otherwise. It's always a power of the mind. So through the ascension, as I was clearing all 13 gates back to heaven on earth, any time that darkness would try to get in my head, I would meditate and I would choose love. You have to do the same. So much love to all of you. That should explain the whole why they took God's power and use it against you and how they do it. And that's why 666 is used in the way that it is used. Their job, what they try to do so hard, is distract you from the bigger picture, distract you from God, distract you from love, and distract you from balance in the heart space. If you are in balance from the heart space, in your power, meditating, spiritual routine, co-creation, all the things that I teach, all the healing that I do, if that is you, then you should be good to go. We can see clearly then. We can tell when darkness is coming our way. And we can do what is needed to keep it at bay. Those are the ones that will make it through. So much love to all of you. Have a beautiful, splendid, miraculous, marvelous, angelic-filled, God-filled day. Till next time.